Coven Chronicles, the multicultural story of witches. The history of witches spans across various countries and cultures throughout the world. Here's a brief overview of the history of witches in different regions. 1. Europe. Witchcraft in Europe has a complex and multifaceted history that spans across different time periods and regions. The most well-known period associated with witch trials and persecution occurred between the 15th and 18th centuries. During this time, widespread beliefs about witches and their association with Satan led to the execution of thousands of people, primarily women, accused of practicing witchcraft. The witch trials were fueled by a combination of religious, social, and political factors, as well as deeply ingrained superstitions and fears. The witch trials in Europe reached their peak during the early modern period, with countries such as Germany, Switzerland, Scotland, and England witnessing a significant number of prosecutions and executions. The accused were often believed to have made pacts with the devil, engaged in harmful magic, and caused misfortune or harm to their communities. The infamous Salem witch trials in Massachusetts, United States in 1692 are an example of this era of intense witch trials. However, before the witch trials of the early modern period, beliefs in witches and their powers were already present in medieval Europe. The Catholic Church had a complex relationship with witchcraft, initially tolerating folk magic and healing practices, but later condemning them as heresy. The publication of the Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches, in 1487, a treatise on witchcraft, greatly influenced the escalation of witch trials and the persecution of alleged witches. It is important to note that not all beliefs about witches in Europe were negative. In ancient Greece and Rome, for example, witchcraft was present, but not universally condemned. Some practices were associated with healing, herbalism, and divination, while others were seen as harmful or malevolent. Folk beliefs and customs surrounding witchcraft varied across different regions of Europe, with some communities considering witches as beneficial healers or wise women. 2. United States. The history of witches in the United States is primarily associated with the Salem witch trials of 1692. These trials occurred in Salem, Massachusetts, when a wave of accusations targeted individuals, mostly women, leading to their imprisonment, trials, and, in some cases, execution. The Salem witch trials were fueled by religious tensions, social unrest, and fears of witchcraft, resulting in a tragic episode in American history. Outside of the Salem witch trials, witchcraft beliefs and practices in early America were less severe compared to Europe. While accusations of witchcraft occurred, particularly during the colonial era, the intensity of persecution and the number of executions were relatively lower. However, it is worth noting that witchcraft accusations were not exclusive to Salem, and occasional trials and punishments took place in other regions of the American colonies. 3. Africa. The history of witches in Africa is deeply intertwined with indigenous beliefs and cultural practices. Many African cultures have a long history of spiritual practices involving witchcraft, often associated with healing, divination, and protective magic. Witchcraft beliefs and practices vary across different tribes and regions, with unique rituals, ceremonies, and perspectives on witchcraft. In some African societies, witchcraft accusations and persecution remain a serious issue, leading to violence, social exclusion, and even killings. These accusations often target vulnerable individuals, such as the elderly, people with disabilities, or those who are socially marginalized. Witchcraft beliefs and practices in Africa are diverse and complex, reflecting the rich cultural and spiritual traditions of the continent. In pre-colonial times, witchcraft was an integral part of African traditional religions, and it played various roles within communities. Some individuals were revered as witches, possessing special powers for healing, divination, and protection. However, negative connotations associated with witchcraft emerged during the colonial period due to the influence of European Christian missionaries and the criminalization of traditional African spiritual practices. 4. Asia. Witchcraft beliefs and practices in Asia are varied, with different countries and regions having their own unique perspectives. In ancient and modern times, various forms of witchcraft have been part of Asian cultures. These practices often intersect with local religions, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and traditional Chinese folk religion. In Hinduism, witchcraft and magic are known as Tantra, or occultism. These practices involve rituals, spells, and the invocation of supernatural forces. Tantra encompasses both white magic, aimed at healing and spiritual growth, and black magic, which is intended for harm. Witchcraft practices associated with Tantra have a long history in India, and they are still present in various forms in contemporary Hindu culture. Similarly, in Buddhist traditions, there are references to practitioners known as sorcerers or magicians who possess supernatural powers attained through meditation and esoteric practices. These individuals are believed to have mastered spiritual and magical techniques to benefit others or to manipulate natural forces. However, it is essential to differentiate between Buddhist magic and the harmful practices associated with black magic or malevolent witchcraft. Shamanism is another form of witchcraft-related tradition found in parts of Asia, including Siberia, Mongolia, and certain regions of East Asia. Shamanistic practices involve the communication with spirits, healing rituals, divination, and the manipulation of natural forces. These practices often blend elements of witchcraft, spirituality, and indigenous traditions. 5. Indigenous cultures. Indigenous cultures across the Americas have their own distinct beliefs and practices related to magic and witchcraft. These practices vary greatly between different tribes and nations, reflecting their unique cultural traditions and spiritual systems. Native American tribes, for instance, have diverse spiritual practices that encompass beliefs in magic, shamans, and spiritual healers. Shamanism, with its focus on communing with spirits, often plays a central role in indigenous cultures. Shamanic rituals and practices may involve trance states, spirit journeys, and the use of herbs and other natural elements for healing and divination. Witchcraft beliefs and practices among indigenous cultures in the Americas often emphasize the connection with nature, the spiritual world, and ancestral traditions. These beliefs have evolved over centuries and continue to be an integral part of many indigenous communities. They are deeply rooted in the cultural fabric and spiritual worldview of indigenous peoples, intertwining concepts of healing, harmony, and balance with the natural and supernatural realms. It is essential to approach the history of witches in different countries and cultures with cultural sensitivity and respect for diverse perspectives. Witchcraft practices and beliefs are highly contextual and shaped by historical, social, and cultural factors, making it crucial to understand them within their specific cultural and historical contexts. By appreciating the complexities and variations of witchcraft across the world, we can foster a more nuanced understanding of this fascinating aspect of human history. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.